Good morning, Scotland. Good morning, social media land. I hope you're well. It is Monday, the 30th of June, 2025. There was no content from me last week as I was campaigning really hard to become an Edinburgh councillor in my local ward's by-election. I did not win, unfortunately, but that's okay, as the experience was incredible and I learned loads about the internal workings of a campaign, which is truly invaluable to an activist like myself. What I also learned is the lies that can be spread and the misinformation and hate across social media about candidates. This too is invaluable to an activist like myself, as what the haters and agent provocateurs and their bots failed to recognise is that to the SNP, I was Murray, their candidate, open to attack and to be targeted just to have a go at the SNP. But to the wider movement, I am Mo from Saorsa, an activist with integrity and conviction, who is true to the cause and absolutely not one to bend or crumble to some of the things that were said about me. In fact, I'm likely to take those comments and use them to show how sick the unionists are and how some within our own movement are so entrenched in the embarrassing world of tribalism that I wonder if they actually want liberty for Scotland at all. Let me tell you this story very briefly from beginning to end. I didn't stand in this election to prove anything. I stood because I wanted to, because nobody else had volunteered from the branch to do so. So when the Fountainbridge and Craiglockhart by-election was called, there was no names from the SNP that came forward from our local branch. So I volunteered. I didn't hesitate. I believe in my community. I've lived here, worked here, raised my family here all my life. I know these streets and I care about what happens on them. Later, another candidate from the SNP came forward and we did what any democratic branch should do. We held a vote. It was fair, clean and respectful. And I won. And with that, the campaign began. The SNP vetting process moved very quickly and suddenly I was officially the candidate and the campaign clock was ticking. It was a short race, brutally short, with limited time, few resources and no national focus on the contest. We had to make every single moment count. There were days that felt like I was trying to carry water in a cracked bucket, but I never felt alone because from the start, I had a team, passionate, honest, generous. We didn't have a great big machine, but we had commitment. We had a belief. We gave it absolutely everything. Election night came. We didn't win, but no one hung their head because what we built together wasn't a loss. It was a foundation. And while we were out there trying to connect with voters, the political corners of social media were doing what they do best, sowing division, feeding tribalism and projecting bitterness onto anyone who does not conform to their script. But that's politics. And I have no interest in playing it that way because the truth is, I didn't get into this for just getting a seat. I got into it for Scotland to understand better the mechanics of campaign and then how to act in public office and how the SNP also works on a short campaign. If I'd won, of course, the privilege of public service would have been paramount, but I didn't. And now I can take what I've learned and use it within my personal activism. Now that I've been inside the process, inside the party and on the ground with the voters, I see it clearer than ever before. We don't need fan clubs. We need a movement, one that fights for something for more than just political hegemony. Politics is absolutely vital in our cause. That is not being in any form of being questioned. But we just have to remember that we are here for the people, for the cause, and not just the party. Incidentally, that never came across, being just for the party in my campaign. Everybody, every single one of my team, the people that I bonded with, they are true saltire bleeding independent supporters, and that can never be taken away from them. With that in mind, This is why we must vote for Scotland in 2026, why we must install a pro-Scottish Parliament across Holyrood. This secures the political pillar for a complete electoral cycle, and it gives us greater credibility on the international stage. I think that's something that we all know, and what I will personally continue to push. Now, let's have a bit of fun and take a look at the toxic social media. So W. Stewart says, a vote for the Scottish Nazi Party is a vote for nonces. Wow, Nazis and nonces. I've always found that people who scream such things may actually be projecting to push attention away from themselves. That is such a real shame, because if this person is in the movement, they're not doing independence or liberty a great favour, are they? Given the failure and utter contempt that the SNP have for the voting public, and considering not one of them knows what a woman is, I would be surprised if any sane person votes for them. But they do have their cult followers. I know what a woman is. My mum's a woman. My wife's a woman. My daughter's a woman. Obviously, the gender thing that was designed to protect a tiny minority of society pissed people off. Yeah, do you know what? I get that. But are we not all human? Or do we not have the right to exist and live our best lives? Are those that scream that trans people place women's safe spaces in jeopardy, ignoring that the truth, what women truly need protection from, are abusive men, not so much transsexuals? And men are more likely to abuse women even entering into these safe spaces to do so. I stand with women, my trans brothers and sisters, the community at large, and the wider community, which is called humanity. We should be targeting those that are the root of the problem. We should be coming together and not being divisive on such issues, but unite to protect every vulnerable individual. Clearly, the SNP know they're not going to win here, as there's been zero MSPs supporting his candidacy. This I found interesting, as it's 100% correct. I received support really only from the local council team, my local ward as primary activists, the surrounding Edinburgh branches, SNP friends from over in Ayr and Dunfermline also helped. But there was none of the big guns out to support this little ward's by-election. Linda Holden and Fife had a couple of visits from MSPs, but none came the way of my election. I do not begrudge the higher-ups for this at all. They are busy people, but I cannot help wondering if it would have been different on the day if they did come forward. Ross, can you come in please, mate? Your tea's ready. You need to come in. No, I don't care if you're planting trees. I don't care, but you need to come in and have your tea. Right now, son. Come on now. Ross, if you get to watch this video, or if anybody knows Ross Greer, go and just let him know that his dad says he needs to come in for his tea. Please. We've been waiting ages. Do not vote for more useless scroungers on the train. Vote independence candidate. I take it that the train being referred to here is the gravy train. I like gravy, but not on trains. It's much better on a roast. Armchair critics that say such things should be looked upon with contempt. Yes, there are career politicians that travel this gravy train frequently. The best example of one is Nigel Farage. But it takes time to know and understand the person that you fling such accusations at. Is a councillor role truly part of the gravy train? I don't think so. I really don't think it is. Is Mo from Saorsa part of the gravy train? No. But obviously Murray from the SNP is an easy target that can actually be used as a bit of a spanking tool against the SNP. Such a shame. Now, The next comment had me tickled considering the account that it came from. So please look at the account that it came from as I read out what it actually says. One of our members in Edinburgh says there's a by-election and they know the SNP candidate from working undercover in Northern Ireland many years ago. What is an ex-British undercover operative doing in the SNP? I have been called many things in my years of activism for Scottish independence, but never an undercover operative for the British state in Northern Ireland. This is possibly the best accolade I could ever have. I feel like I should be making that whole post into t-shirts and selling them and giving the profits to veterans charities, because that's hilarious. The lack of integrity in this post from a so-called yes group, albeit the Tories, actually says more about them than it does about me. And the funny thing is, I've engaged positively with this account many times in the past from my activist accounts on Twitter, the one that was previously known as the Saltire. Obviously, the candidate in question, me, is an easy target to discredit, shedding a shadow of doubt on the integrity of this yes group. Let's just have another wee look at that again. You know, the comments weren't all bad. There was a few that were quite good, and I personally liked this one more than any of the others. Never mind England's pseudo-Scots and their unionist shilling. Their servile ignorance has no bounds. Stay passionate and true to Scottish independence, and the indie supporting electorate will give you their support. Thanks, Paul. That was a really nice thing to say. Anyway, so what's next? We now have to organise, we grow, we push. This, for me, was not an ending. It was actually a beginning. And I'm not going anywhere. If anything, what I've learned has now been weaponised. I understand the inner workings of campaign. I rubbed shoulders with some incredible people inside the SNP, believers in the party, and more importantly, hardcore believers in independence. Will I campaign for the SNP in 2026? Yeah, of course I will. Will I hold them to account to place independence at the top of the agenda? Absolutely. Mo has fire in his belly and wants to bring more people into the fold to vote for Scotland, to win our independence and to see the bigger picture of the 3 pillars of liberty. This is something that we can all get behind regardless of our political affiliation or what flag you wave for what tribe. Tomorrow, we will discuss what's next and what must change. We have less than a year until the Scottish elections in May. We need to spend this summer as activists, liking content, sharing content, making content, chatting to people and winning over the hearts and minds of the wider population to installing a pro-Scottish Parliament. I hope that you will take the time to watch tomorrow's videos. I'm going to leave you with a Saorsa song that's very apt regarding one of the comments on social media. Enjoy the rest of your Monday.
I said I'd vote for a pro-Scottish win, that's no curse. Then came all the screaming, guess I triggered something worse. They called me a deceiver, said I'd sold the nation out. Funny how the faithful always seem to scream and shout. I read the rules, I broke no vow, but you can't handle the reason how. If I'm a traitor, where's your proof? You are running scared and fear the truth. I'm a unionist plant, didn't you know? Here to split the vote and steal the show. I read the system, that's my crime. I don't salute your party line. So burn the witch, accuse the saint, but we all know Westminster stitch us up with their union hands. And you mock the ones who knock the doors, call them trolls with schemes. But who's the one dividing now, tearing up the dream? You don't want answers, just control. A flag rack throne, a true own goal. You're more obsessed with being right than seeing Scotland win the fight. I'm a unionist plan, didn't you know? Here to split the vote and steal the show. I read the system, that's my crime. I don't salute your party line. So burn the witch, accuse the saint, but we all know your words are a feint. But you lose and want someone to blame. Look in the mirror and say your name. Projection's such a clever trick, make someone else the heretic. But if you hate a different view, what kind of freedom's that to you? I'm a unionist plant agent provocateur, breaking up your echo chamber, showing it's not pure. You call it faith, I call it spin. You'd rather lose than take help to win. So keep your lies and shout me down. Scotland is bigger than your fake crown. And when the truth comes breaking through, you'll see